I'm Em,
And I'm Lex.
and we're thrilled to welcome you to the Ready, Set, Coach podcast.
Now, we're not just your hosts. We're also mamas, entrepreneurs, coaches, friends, and co-founders of the Ready, Set, Coach community.
What began as a pandemic side hustle has blossomed into a vibrant online community crafted by coaches for coaches.
So when we're not immersed in our coaching community on Circle, we're busy managing our other businesses, navigating the ups and downs of life, and of course, recording this podcast.
This is where we dive deep into epic conversations about life, business, coaching,
and everything in between.
So are you ready, Lex?
I'm set, Em.
Let's coach.
Happy Monday to you.
You are sitting by a black
Shoe.
shoe.
Oh, there's a shoe right here.
Happy
Guys.
Monday. Very Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I came onto the podcast, y'all. I have a friend staying with me, and so she's in my guest room / my office. And so I went into my son's room and I was sitting in the tent, and I walked out when Lex got on camera, and I said, today's going to be an intense call.
And she was in a tent.
Yeah, it was great.
It landed hard with me. Also, I have to apologize for the last 2 episodes of this podcast, me and my audio sounding terrible. My mic was in front of me, but not plugged in.
Wait, did you really not have the thing
I'm
plugged in?
assuming I just checked right now, and for the intro of this episode, it
Oh.
was not set to on either. So I just changed it. So I think that is what has been going on, and hopefully my audio is phenomenal now.
Talk closer.
Talk closer, baby. Talk closer to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Baby, hold me
Yeah.
closer. Okay, it sounds good. Well, we'll see. We'll see when our editor just reams us out with like us not being able to turn on our podcast.
Hi, Kaylee. Thank you. It's my problem. It's me. Okay, guys, we're doing something a little bit different today, and we're excited because context. We ran a workshop for our community last week, maybe. What is time? And we thought we'd bring that workshop to you. It gives you also an idea of the type of content that we're offering in the community, literally for free. So, like, what are you doing if you're not inside? You know?
Yeah. So we're going to talk to you guys about high ticket sales and how to sell without feeling sleazy. Because selling very much is equated to like a used car salesperson, that word sales. So at least that's for me. Lex, how do you feel about sales?
Oh, I've had an evolution of sales, and I'd say at this point in time, I feel pretty dang neutral. Meaning I really just think of it as like an exchange of information of whether or not it's a right fit for both parties. Like I've gotten to that, but I did not always feel that way. I certainly did not always feel that way. I used to have a script that I would like hold shakingly, and I didn't do Zoom calls because I didn't want them to see me holding my script. So I did a phone call. And then if they went off script, I like inwardly panicked, right? And I will also note this happened when I sold my own services, not at corporate when I had someone else to hide behind, but when me, myself, and I as a coach had to sell me, myself, and I as a coach. Whoa, that was a whole new ball game.
Well, I'll also add that being sold to is such a physical feeling. Like whenever I'm on a call and I see that it's turning into a sales call, I feel like my body does 2 things. It's either like, oh yes, I want this, and I start salivating, or like I start shutting down, my stomach starts hurting, and I'm like, okay, just smile and grin until they get through it, and then I can reject them and let them know that now is not the right time and this isn't feeling it, especially if I get onto a sales call unknowingly. Like I think this is just a connection call and then I accidentally get sold to. It's like, oh, it hurts me so much physically.
100%.
Yeah. So Lex, let's talk about, why do people buy? Because I feel like, there's Black Friday, there's Christmas, there's your birthday, and those are all great reasons to buy. But generally speaking, like, why do people actually buy? Why would they buy from you?
Okay, there are, probably thousands of Google pages, research, books, studies, programs, you name it, right? And if you have not done a deep dive on sales psychology, It is fascinating, highly recommend, but we're going to give you a little bit of cliff notes and how it relates to your coaching business. So, people buy to fulfill one of the basic human needs: health, wealth, relationships and self, spirituality, or happiness. Okay. So take us one layer deeper here. What do we mean?
What do we mean, Lex? Well, I definitely think about security, like to prevent loss or to ensure success in any of these categories. Or if through selling we can pinpoint why our programs provide an upside to one of these four human needs in areas of our lives, or prevent a loss or ensure accelerated success, we will have an advantage over others. So basically, what we're saying is thinking about the psychological motivation behind your program will be so helpful in crafting the way that you sell. Like, is this going to I like to say, like, is this a vitamin or a painkiller? Is this gonna enhance their life? Is this gonna prevent them from something bad happening in their life? Health coaching is a great example of this, where if someone takes care of their health now, they don't have to hopefully then end up in the hospital and spend lots of money on medication if they get to the root of the cause before that big end result. So yeah, I think the psychology is an important thing to consider.
So again, if you haven't done this for your own offering in business, here already is something tactically that you should do. Figure out what basic need is your offering fulfilling. Okay, so let's go another layer deeper here. People often justify purchases with logic or the masculine, but they buy based on emotion, the feminine. And it is our job to appeal to both in some capacity when selling. So, for example, logical and masculine. People might invest, or a person might invest in a virtual assistant to save time and scale their business. That becomes a very logical purchase for them. When we look at it from the emotional or feminine lens, people invest in a virtual assistant so they can have time to dedicate to selling, and they have the ability to pick up their kids from school and to be able to attend their basketball games, and they'd feel more supportive and they really like the person when they meet them on the call. So there's a lot more onions to the layer here, right? So if you have an offering and it's not selling as hoped, how can what I just said become tangible? What's something you can do, Em?
I think there's something. Understand what type of buyer you are. Like, I think it's really important to understand what type of buyer you are, because it's also going to be easier to sell authentically from a lens that you emulate from naturally. And this is a conversation Lex and I have all the time because, fun fact, I'm more feminine in my buying and in my selling, and Lex is more masculine. And so as partners, we have to always come to a compromise of a little sprinkle of masculine, a little sprinkle of feminine, to meet in the middle. So understanding what you are, say you're super feminine and you're trying to sell like a super masculine sales tactic, it's going to feel so disingenuous to who you are as a person. So definitely take an audit of yourself, and also think back of like your past experiences where you've said yes to something or people have said yes to you. Like where was it physically in your body, and how you were articulating things, and what did it look like?
Mhm. You can also see this evidenced in your messaging, right? Check out your sales page copy. Like, what are you highlighting? Are you highlighting stats, data, results, logistics? Are you highlighting how people feel? Usually, at least for the sales copy, you should have a element of both,
Yeah,
but know what feels strongest to you and lead with that on your
agreed.
call.
Yeah, kind of like a hybrid of everything. But I've definitely, I don't know about you, Lex, but I've seen some sales pages that are very in the feminine, and you're like, wow, I have no idea what I'm getting out of this program, but it feels really good reading it. Or like then you read something that's very masculine, and you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting, but I don't know if I'm going to be held at all in this program.
Or
Which
it's
is,
almost overwhelming because there's too much
yeah,
information in front of you. That can be both overwhelming in different ways. So, there is an art to strike the balance, but I think a key takeaway for you here, understand who you are, because when we talk about how to sell authentically, you need to show up as you. So if you're someone who's more masculine, you're probably going to lead with selling a little bit more masculine. You probably are going to attract, at least that's true for me, Emily. I don't know if you would, not diagnose, like categorize most of your clients as similar, but mine are largely masculine, to be fair.
Yeah. And mine are, you're right. That it's more like a feeling that I provide them, like a feeling of safety or a feeling of
Mhm.
being taken care of, which can also bring you to that trigger moment. It's like, how many times have you been on a call before and you might not have been looking for something, but that moment felt right, and you realized you're like, I do need this. This is going to be helpful to me, versus the trigger moment where you are actively in a season of looking for a Facebook ads coach. So like every single call you're on is specifically with a very specific type of person. But I think
Wait,
I
I'm having a trigger moment right now because I feel like I'm on a boat watching your screen right now.
I'm
So my
sorry.
trigger moment is to buy you a flat surface right now to
I'm
put your
sorry. You don't like
computer
the
on.
pillow that I have on? Hold on, let me put it on a thing of diapers instead. That
Go
would be
find your diapers and let me kind of scale back for a second. So something we like to teach at Ready Set Coach is identifying the trigger moment. And the trigger moment is really the moment that triggers someone to start looking for a solution or the moment they buy. So we always a practice we offer our clients is think of the last big purchase or investment that you made in your business. What started you down that path? Health coaching, and again, is a really good example here. Let's say you have a vacation coming up and you look at the calendar and you're like, holy crap, this is something that happened to me. You're like, I have 60 days to get this post baby body, like bikini ready to my standards. That was my trigger moment, or that is an example of a trigger moment that started me looking for a solution.
And now that we're off the boat, and I love that example, Lex, because I remember that trigger moment so plain as day, plain as night. I don't know. My brain's mushy, you guys, today. But I remember when that happened and when that was important. Or then similar, like, I feel like I'll use your example too with ClickUp. There was a point where the systems that you were using, they were working, but they weren't like super cohesive. What was your trigger moment that you're like, I want to seek out someone to help me get my systems and processes in place?
I believe I had signed another client and was getting busier, and the project management between RSC, the PR bar, and growth mode was overwhelming me. So I had more capital because I had just signed a client. Now I was ready to kind of up level my systems. So that was a trigger moment. And basically, guys, it's important we understand all the potential trigger moments for our clients.
Mhm.
Okay. Because this is the key to marketing, but it's also the key to sales. It helps us understand what part of the buying cycle they are in, right? Are they ready now? What would happen if they don't find a solution?
Yeah.
That trade of
And I
thinking.
think I think like also, are they going through a life event? Are they trying to solve a problem immediately? Is this a need to have immediately, or is this something that a want to have for the next year? So maybe it's a warm lead, but it's not a right now lead. And I think another thing to think about too is when, if for whatever reason they don't work with you, letting them know that in this trigger moment, like, it's not going to be solved sooner. If you're not
Yep.
acting now, then this is still going to be a problem in 6 months, just so you know.
In the trigger moment, kind of segues us into, we're going to get a little marketing speak on you, but we're going to keep it high level. The trigger moment equates itself typically to what we call a MOFU or a BOFU, which is just an acronym for middle of funnel or bottom of funnel. So when we look at a sales funnel, high level, there are three components. Top of funnel. Top of funnel is how someone heard about you, how they came into your hemisphere. Did they hear you on a podcast? Did they come across you on a Google search? Okay. This is how you get on their radar. Okay. MOFU, middle of funnel, is when they enter your world somehow. So they join your email list, or they follow you on social, okay? Or maybe you've even had a networking call, right? The conversation has started, you're starting to build know, like, and trust. Then we have BOFU, bottom of funnel, and this is the moment where someone either is going to buy from you, or they're not, or they're just not right now. And if they're not right now, right, then they go back up to your middle funnel.
I love that you laugh every time you say mofu and bofu.
Yeah, I think I'm so funny.
It's so funny. So guys, thinking about your funnel, what's your funnel that looks good and tastes good and hits the spot? And so we're not going to go into the top of the funnel today because that's a marketing conversation, but it's worth remembering that that's where successful sales start. It starts by attracting the right people. It continues by developing know, like, and trust, and then getting them into your bottom funnel. That's what we're talking about today, which is the sales.
Hey everyone, Lex here.
And M.
And if you haven't heard, we did something pretty darn cool.
We sure did. We launched a completely free community built specifically for coaches.
Say it again for the people in the back.
We launched a free community for coaches. Tell them quickly who it's for and what we're doing inside, Lex.
Sure thing. So it's for anyone from the coaching curious to side hustlers to coaches ready to scale. And through the virtual platform that we've built, we've created a safe and fun space to learn, launch, grow, connect, ideate, collaborate, vent, and evolve together.
Nailed it, Lex. Now, while it's free, you must apply in order to gain a free membership. You know, so we can make sure everyone inside is awesome, like us.
Apply today at readysetcoachcommunity.com. And if you were attending our live workshop, you would see that this slide had a really yummy picture of a funnel cake because we're funny. Funnel cake, funnel marketing, get it? Okay, onward, onward.
Onward and upwards. Okay, Lex, I'm curious. Have you ever purchased a $4,000 plus coaching package through an automated sales process? What I mean by that is like no sales call, just add to cart.
I have not. But when you asked this of the group last week, we had a couple people say yes. However, when we pushed them to go a step further, we learned they already knew this person, or they'd been following them for a while, or they attended a masterclass. So they had already been hanging out in middle funnel in order for that automation to work. But generally speaking, and most people in the room indicated no.
Yeah. And then the other question I have for you is, have you ever hired a coach or a program through an appointment setter or like by someone who is not necessarily the main coach?
I have not, but I know, again, it can work. A lot of things can work, you guys. A lot of things do work. The key here is figuring out what works for you. For Em and I, and most of our clients, we're fans of thoughtful, high touch. But and what I mean by that is actually interfacing with the people we're about to work with in some capacity. The caveat being putting protectors in place. And what do I mean by protectors?
What I mean is that you could do, there are the appointment setters, as you just mentioned. There could be applications or some other protectors that you could put into a place where you could put pre-call qualifiers. Say that 10 times fast. So that's considered qualifying who you get on a call with. So some examples of qualifiers we've used are like adding how much your program starts at pricing wise. So before they get on a call with you, they know that like they are going to qualify for affording your program or not. You could also put something like they need to be making a certain amount of revenue to be qualified to be in your program. They have to be in business a certain number of years. They have to have had X number of clients. So things like that. So you're getting a certain type of client on the call before you're just accepting everyone and their mom.
Yeah. And a lot of people have opinion on qualifiers. There are pros and cons, but we are of the opinion and experience and what we have seen and what data also supports that if you do put these qualifiers in place, you might have less leads come through, but the ones that do will be much more qualified, and thus your sales conversation will be much more set up for success. Okay.
Which will
So
also, wait, I want to add to that too, Lex. I think in terms of like servicing, which is a whole different conversation, but generally when those people do become your clients, you're able to then get them to the transformation faster and easier than someone who doesn't have those qualifications.
Boucher, bebe. Okay, so they booked your sales call. Now let's talk about briefly how you rock it. So step one is to own your approach. we've been talking about this a little bit in this episode so far, right? There are many different styles of selling out there, and a lot of different styles work. But ultimately, you need to pick one or land on one that feels good and authentic and natural to you.
Yeah. I mean, Lex and I have had the pleasure of experiencing many different styles of selling over our careers, um, inclusive of being sold to. So there are coaches that we've seen that address every objection you have and get that payment on the phone, which that's a whole story for another day on that one. And then we have others that have more of a laid back approach, like, no worries, man. You're like, you don't even feel wanted. There are also people that have those appointment setters or like a sales lead that sells to you on their behalf. And I just want to say that there's not a one size fits all strategy that works for everyone. What might work for us might not feel authentic to you. And our goal for you is to find the way to sell that feels the most authentic to you. Selling should be fun and exciting versus a scary job interview type feeling.
Exactly. Or neutral even, which is kind of the point I'm at. Okay, so once you have identified where you feel most comfy, we go into step 2. And I arguably think this is the most it's the top 3 most critical parts to sales. And that is shifting your mindset, right? Emily has a great example here, so I'm just going to straight on flip this over to you.
Okay, so guys, Eh, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, I just want you to keep this in mind. But we like to think of the entire selling process as you inviting your clients to join you versus convincing. So there is no convincing that needs to be done. You are not having them join a cult. You are extending an invitation to someone that has a limited time frame to join. So I like to think of it as inviting your client, your friend or client to a concert. You're letting them know that the concert is happening, but it's their decision to buy the tickets and join you. So, Tay Swift fans here, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, Taylor Swift was coming to town and Lexi had 2 tickets, but she made an assumption that you couldn't afford it. So, she didn't tell you about the concert. You'd be pretty bummed and pretty disappointed. So, I think never assume what someone's situation is and always extend the invite. I'm going to reiterate, it is their choice if they can attend or participate or not.
Yeah, because assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Ta-dunch. Now, quick little hack here. If the word sales is just something you can't get past, we like to suggest to our clients to try word swapping. Okay. So Emily already touched on one. Instead of selling, think of it as inviting someone to join you. Another one, informing someone of an opportunity they might benefit from. Another one, sharing a solution to someone's problem so they know it exists should they feel they want to engage. And then the last one, actually 2 more, discussing whether or not it's the right next step or exploring. Okay, so we have inviting, informing, sharing, discussing, and exploring are 5 other words you can interchangeably swap out for sales if that helps you kind of on the mindset front.
I think another important step to consider when selling is to knowledge up. So, what that means is knowing your offer from the inside out. Do not find yourself fumbling to remember X number of hours or Y is included in your package or how many of Y is included in your package. And you also want to really understand and be able to articulate what your ultimate transformation is. So arm yourself with testimonials if you have them available. If not, be prepared to speak to your authority on this topic and have a key set of discovery questions ready to go. Know what information you need to find out in order to truly vet the candidate and take notes along the way. Like you want to be able to reflect things back to them. And then research who you're talking to ahead of time if possible. So we suggest like looking at their website, we're looking at their LinkedIn, potentially Instagram, and having basic questions outlined in a call form so you can, at the bare minimum, have access to all of these accounts. And then practicing handling objections. So 2 of the most popular objections that we've encountered include price or the cost of the program and time. And so you want to think through how you will address these objections ahead of time so you aren't put on the spot while on the call.
100%. I like to think about it this way too. Let's say you're put on a stage and someone asks you to, let me use a different example than a health coach because I feel like we always use that.
Yeah.
Of a money coach. You're a money coach. You're on a stage and someone asks you to present on Kim Kardashian's latest cosmetic line. You might just stand there and go, I don't know. But if they ask you something on, you know, how do I invest $100? If it's something it's something you have knowledge in, you are 5,000 times more confident. So don't let any area of your business or your offering be kind of known to you, or you're going to fund. That was a terrible example, everyone, but hopefully you get what I'm going here. Okay, so moving on. Step 4 is to know your authority. We suggest keeping a list close by of all the things that make you credible and give you authority to coach clients. So this can come from a coaching certificate. It could come from years experience in the field. It can come from different stages you've stood on. It could come from degrees. Quick hack, once you have that list, it can be physical,
Mhm.
written. It can be in form of pictures on your wall, whatever works for you. Read that list or visit that list prior to any sales call. Basically, hype yourself up.
I love it. And I think that is such a good one just to remind yourself of, especially if you've come off like a crappy sales call before, or you come off of a client that didn't go the way that you wanted, just revisiting successful clients and successful transformations and where they're at now. And then step 5, and this is a huge one that I think Elsa knows best, but release expectations and let it go. And this one can be easier said than done, but if you can release the expectations or the need and that scarcity of like, I need to close this client or else, then your entire energy is going to shift. So rather than showing up from a place of panic or coming across as desperate, you will automatically appear calmer and more confident to the buyer. And one of our favorite mantras that we like to tell ourselves when selling, and it might sound cocky, but if they don't buy, it is their loss. Because really it is. If someone doesn't sign up with you, it is their loss. They are the ones missing out on the epic transformation, not you. So to bring it back to dating, because I love a good dating metaphor, the feeling should be mutual. You don't want to convince them to date you. And you're both getting the opportunity to get to know each other. You won't be the person for everyone, and your offering won't be the solution for everyone. So let it go if it doesn't go the way that you want.
Damn straight. I'm gonna wrap us up, guys. This was a very long presentation that we gave, and we went into like the nitty-gritty of the sales call. We went into follow-up, we went into conquering objections, but we don't got time for that. However, what we do have time for is to harp on and review probably the biggest piece of advice that is transferable across any type of selling. And that's the number one sales skill to develop, and that's listening. Sales calls are not an opportunity for you to fill up space. They should be an opportunity for you to ask thoughtful, strategic questions and listen. Because you guys, if you truly listen, they being the prospect, going to deliver on a silver platter what you need to close them.
And Lex, I think that is such an important thing that so many people are already thinking in their brain the next thing they want to say back, but listening and reflecting is such a powerful tool. And then I want to share one more powerful tool too, which is the follow-up. And this is again, watch our presentation, you can see more of it, but I want to share these stats with you guys. 48% of sales people never follow up with a prospect. And I'm going to jump to the bottom. 10% of sales are made on the 4th contact. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. It's also reminding you the aspect of it's not usually just one sales call that ends it. Oftentimes there is a continuing relationship, there is a continuing follow-up. Like I would love to say that every sales call is going to be a win and it's going to be a close, but realistically too, give yourself grace and know that there is a lot of power in following up.
Yes. So we talked a lot at you, but this is a podcast, so that's what we do. Your homework was sprinkled throughout. I think, take a listen back, pause on a concept you haven't heard before or you need a reminder of. For example, have you taken the time to think about, are you a masculine or feminine buyer? Have you audited your sales copy? What else? What else have we talked about?
I'm like, understanding your trigger moment. Like what is a trigger moment that a client might have when buying your product? Like, are they not making sales? Are they not closing clients? Are they not dropping LBs? Like, what are the things that could make them say hell freaking yes to what you're offering?
And then also, if you haven't thought about where where your offering sits in a basic human needs perspective, those are health, wealth, relationships and self, spirituality, and happiness. So basically, we just gave you 16 hours worth of homework. Have fun with that. No, I'm just kidding. But hopefully you guys found something today
And
from our
we
house
will
praise
see you the
thing.
next time on the
On the Ready, Set, Coach.
podcast. If you're enjoying the Ready, Set, Coach podcast, please leave a review wherever you are listening. For more information about Ready, Set, Coach, visit readysetcoachprogram.com.